Good morning. Welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. We have an awesome show for you. I'm Harvey Freed. Alongside of me, Becky Alley.
What is going on, everybody? Happy Saturday. Happy to be here. It actually feels like spring a little bit here in Michigan. I feel really good about that. And we got some new monitors up in the studio.
Wow.
I mean, talk about upgrading my life. I feel really good about it.
The show's a big upgrade for us. And again, we want to introduce these guys, Jessica and Justin Woodbeck. Thrive Realty's finally here in person. Nice to meet you guys.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having us.
I'm super pumped. Okay, let's just pull it back a little bit. We have royalty in the building with us as far as
Get
I'm
outta
concerned.
here.
Listen, come on. We got Jessica and Justin Woodbeck. They are Thrive broker owners of Thrive Realty, and if you don't follow them on social media, you need to, because they are changing the face of real estate as far as I'm concerned. Professionally, personally, you guys are amazing people. You do work not just in real estate, but outside of work. Your coaches, your mentors, your speaking, at events, really liberating people and leading them to their best selves, both professionally and personally. And I can't speak more highly of you, as well as your followers. I mean, as soon as I announced that the Woodbeck team was coming on the Hardcore Mortgage Show, everyone was like, "What? Can't wait!"
You guys are getting likes from California, by the way, too.
Yeah.
They're liking it all over the place.
Oh, that's awesome.
But of course, we always talk buying and selling real estate, and we're going to take all your calls this morning, 248-539-9797. If you're thinking about buying or selling a house, this is a great show. You're going to want to reach out to Thrive Realty a little bit later in the day today. They'll call you back and get you set up for success, and that's what it's all about. Josh, you started the morning off. We were out in the lobby, and we talked about it. Boy, if you can't sit on the sidelines, and if really you're thinking about even getting the kids into school, a new school district come this spring or this fall, you need to really start now.
Yeah, you got to get going now. The duration of a search has dramatically increased over the last year or so. As we saw inventory go down, the amount of time it actually takes to get into a house is increased. And one of the reasons for that is that when you purchase a house, a lot of times that seller wants to have what's called possession after it closes, because they then want to go search for a house. Mm-hmm. And so it's causing a normal closing window. While the house may close in 30 days or less, it might take 90 days to be able to get into that house, and it might take you 90 days to even find the thing and go under contract.
Yeah, it's important to. My biggest thing is, like, as far as the importance level is, you cannot start the conversation soon enough to that point.
Correct.
Because there was this point where buyers are like, "Oh, I don't want you to pull my credit. It's going to ding, it's going to hurt my credit." That's a fallacy. Having a mortgage inquiry is the most minuscule effect on your credit whatsoever. But because of that hesitation, people were finding homes, then thinking they could get pre-approved. And it hasn't been that kind of market for a long time. And you're doing yourself a disservice, because if you find the house, then you try to get pre-approved, now you might not even be ready. Because if you're looking at that house, it's already sold.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
It's already sold. And so because of that, you can't start the conversation soon enough, because the biggest misnomer out there is that it's not the payment. No one is fretting over these rates. Okay, the interest rates are not keeping people from buying homes. What the biggest issue is, where's the money coming from? And to that point, people have to buy homes to sell homes and sell homes to buy homes, and they need those proceeds to close on the next house, because the biggest thing is that people can afford the payment, but they have no money for the actual next house, which is the issue.
Jess, we always say it's never too soon to start that home search. And no doubt, there's a little different market out there. Now, I'm starting to think, as we're getting into this morning now, and especially into spring, that maybe if you're thinking about selling your house, it could be a great time to call an agent like you guys to really get prepared for it. Because, like you said, you might not want to move right away. And it sort of becomes like a pocket listing where at least you can find out what your house is selling for. You might even find some buyers out there willing to pay top dollar, and they might be willing to wait till August. And that might be your lifestyle, and you need to wait that long.
Right. I think a lot of people, I think a lot of savvy buyers and sellers are willing to do the work ahead of time. They're willing to say, hey, I'm going to reach out to a professional, whether it's on the buy side or sell side, and have the conversations I need to have to get started. And I think sellers today, if you're watching the marketplace, you're seeing that inventory is extremely low. You do hold a little bit more of the cards. And so getting with a professional right away and making sure that you have a network professional, that they can do these pocket listings, they can do all of the conversations and networking prior to going to market, buys you more time. Mm-hmm. It gives you a little more leeway to say, okay, I can start my search before I'm even on the market.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So everyone's like, we're in a housing crisis. That's the truth. Okay, we are in a housing crisis. There wasn't enough homes built over the last 10 years. And it's going to continue to be a seller's market for the foreseeable future, in my opinion, because there's just, the new buyers that are entering the market. You have 24 to 34, that's 43 million that are now entering the buyer's pool when we have 900,000 homes for sale and half of them already under contract, right? So it's not going to be a housing bubble, all that stuff, right? So you're having these buyers that are coming into the market. You have sellers that know they hold the cards, but then how do you guide these buyers, right, that are feeling that buyer fatigue when they're all competing over the same 5 houses? And, how are we able to create opportunity like you guys are talking about where opportunity really kind of doesn't exist for these buyers?
I think how you solve that problem is actually at the inception of the relationship. When people are disappointed in life, it's because of unmet expectations. So when you go into that relationship and set the expectation of what they're going to experience, feel, see, and do in the coming months and even year plus, and it's not a surprise anymore, it's no longer as frustrating. It's easier to deal with. It's, Justin told me this was going to happen. And it's no longer this gut punch that a lot of agents are seeing their clients experience out there because the expectation was never set.
Yay, I love that because I actually just had the same conversation with a buyer of mine yesterday. We've been dealing with each other and working together for about 6 months now. And that expectation was met in the beginning. We were making sure that not only can they afford the payment, we know what the max, but I was already looking down the road because you're talking 6 months ago, you could get concessions and you could get under asking, and the market changed very, very quickly within even just 30 days of our first initial conversation. But it was a lot of hand-holding, and what people don't know, and when you're with the right team, you don't know what you don't know. And if you're not with the right team, you probably don't know you're not with the right team, but you're feeling that frustration, and the buyers are feeling that frustration. But we had these conversations, and we made sure that, we're looking at this could be the timeline, and this is your max, and this is what you could be looking at. This is what you could not be looking at. And there's so much that goes on behind the scenes before we even issue a pre-approval. And people don't understand that because we don't announce that. Harvey's really good at that too. There's a lot of hand-holding. We don't announce the little itty-bitty gross details that go on behind the scenes as far as pre-approvals and the credit scores and where, do you need a cosigner and all that stuff. But when you have that expectation right off the rip, they're your client for life because you're not transactional. And that is what separates the Thrive team from any other real estate agency out there.
And I think there is a big difference in working with a licensed agent, a licensed LO versus a professional agent, a professional LO. You're going to be sitting down and having these prereqs, these consultations. You're not running, gunning and opening the house and you don't know each other's names and they're not pre-approved and no one knows anything, but we're looking at the pretty house that I saw on Zillow. So if you're a buyer out there, that is not how the process should go. You should be having a phone call with a professional, coming in and meeting them, speaking to your loan officer in advance and going through these prereqs before you go do one of the largest financial transactions of your life.
To that point, I hear a lot from buyers, because again, they don't know, is, well, I didn't want to bother my agent. So I just called the name on the sign, or I just called the number that I saw on Zillow. What do you say, how do we get that to stop? Because, when you have your team, you pick them for a reason, and you need to understand as a buyer, anyone that's out there that's looking for homes, call your agent, right? How do we get them to stop doing that? Because that seems to be some of the problem as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. You could ask all these different questions of, how do we get these things to change? And it's all going to start at the same place, the inception of the relationship. So that agent should be setting the expectation in moment one when they're sitting down in the consultation that Jessica was just talking about. That's where the roadmap is established, and that consumer needs to understand why that's detrimental to their search. What they're actually inadvertently doing by contacting that person whose name is on the sign is contacting somebody who has a fiduciary duty to represent the best interests of the seller, not the buyer. And is that actually going to put that buyer in the best situation possible when they have a fiduciary already working in their corner? No, of course not. So we just have to let them know that that's actually the impact that occurs when they pick up the phone and they call that number.
All right. Well, for the last 24 months, all the agents are putting out there. Of course, I'm a Facebook junkie. Hey, I just got this $20,000 over at our list price, $30,000. Well, what about on the buy side? I haven't seen a lot of those recently. Hey, by the way, my buyer just overpaid $20,000. With that being said, though, to me, it's not overpaying. And I've reached out to a lot of families, and we've seen this, Becky, over the last 24 months, where go into that 401k. Look, it's old school that you don't want to touch it. I don't want you to touch the 401k if you don't need to. If you got a mom, a dad, a relative, someone who can help you. But if you don't have that extra money, hey, my 401k is not killing it in the last 24 months, but home appreciation is. And that's where the future looks like for the next couple of years. I think we need to prepare our buyers, Becky, a little bit better and saying, look, you might have to dig in there and grab a little extra savings if you want to win that offer.
Education is free. And we take a lot of pride in that element at Capital Mortgage Funding as well as Thrive. You know, we're doing home buyer seminars where we're literally sitting down one-on-one with people and explaining things to them that they never even knew was even a possibility for them. I mean, we had one recently with Thrive, and two of them were already pre-approved. And when I just sat down and talked to them, one of them started crying because she didn't know that she could actually qualify for down payment assistance. And the way that I explained things to her, to which I just maybe took for granted, it was eye-opening and life-changing for her. And that's what we're talking about. Whereas people think that they can't buy houses and they think that home ownership is going to always miss them. And when you can be a part of something and changing their lives in that kind of element, in that way, I can't even put it to words, to be honest with you, because if someone could see your heart, they wouldn't work with anybody else. And when you're having those moments with these people and you're getting them to understand, like, look, you don't need 20% down. Like the biggest home buyers
the
mistake.
Best plan. You got to put a plan together.
Yeah, and that's because I'm just seeing her face. Actually, I'm seeing this particular buyer's face, and like literally seeing the emotion on her face is almost bringing emotion to me because it meant something to her. So when we come back, we're going to talk about what are my top 3 home buyer mistakes that people are making right now, because it's important.
All right, tons to share with you. 248-539-9797. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. It is the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show in our 23rd year. We are brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding, of course, powered by Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, NMLS 2289, Equal Housing Lender. I'm Harvey Freed. She's Becky Alley, Justin and Jessica Woodbeck, Thrive Realty. That's where so much power and energy is coming from. You guys inspire me. I've been doing this a long time, over 31 years, and there's a whole bunch of great agents out there and a whole bunch of new concepts. yours is one of my favorites. This positive mental attitude. I love the PMA stuff. I love the lifestyle you guys are presenting too. Just talk a little bit about yourselves and maybe why some of the agents out there really need to look you up.
Yeah, well, Thrive Realty Co. is a full-service brokerage, and our agents believe in the understanding that one person shouldn't be doing the job of 7. So in real estate, it's very archaic, right? The tradition is that you're the marketer, you're the contract manager, you're the negotiator, you're looking for the properties. And at Thrive, when you are working with one of our professional realtor partners, they are there specifically to find you a home or sell your home. And then we have professional marketers, professional contract managers. All of the components that get you to the finish line are handled with the power of a team behind every realtor we have.
It's really fun to look at houses, isn't it, Justin? I mean, when you get in a car and you remember your first house, and even when you take these buyers out, and Becky always talks about that vibe, and sometimes there's tears in your eyes. It's emotional, but it's not that kind of market where you're driving around and looking at 10 or 20 homes. You're probably looking at 5 of your best opportunities. Get in there. You've seen them online already. Get in there. Decide if it's one of them's right for you, and probably make some offers and find out what it's going to take to get one of these offers accepted.
Yeah, this is definitely not the market to live out your house hunting fantasies, your HGTV moment. But
Whether like occupation is collecting pine nuts
Butterflies.
Right.
$1 million budget.
Exactly, 1.8 million.
Who's
no,
Emily?
this is definitely the market to be clear and concise, take action swiftly and decisively. And those that do are often the ones that end up on top, and those that don't are the ones that are wondering why their 6 offer was not accepted. It's really where we're at this point.
Well, you have the waiting, right? Anyone that got out of the game and got back into the game, they stepped out and they came back to higher rates the first of, like last year, right? And then now you're having the same situation. We're like, I'm going to wait till spring. Well, guess what? Now you waited and you missed the boat because the ones that stayed in there in January, February, they're the ones that already went under contract and maybe got a little bit better of a deal than some of the buyers right now, and which is that's fine. But the key that we're trying to say is you need to make sure that you're staying in there, and you have to be prepared when you're writing these offers that you're going to, as soon as you see it, you have to be prepared. You either like it or you don't. You have your inspection period. You can be pass fail, but the looky-loo like you're talking about, you can't do that right now, because if you see a house and then by the time you get at home, it's already under contract and pending, and people are getting frustrated. And that's how we can avoid that frustration that you're talking about.
Yeah, we hear all the time people say, well, I just don't want to overpay for a house. Well, that's subjective, right? It's the buyer that determines the value of the object that they're buying, the home that they're buying. And so what I often do what we do here at Thrive is we'll actually walk our clients through the understanding of, let's say they have to go $10,000, $15,000 above either appraisal or list value to be able to get the house. Well, are you going to live there for 15 years? Well, it's $1,000 a year, which breaks down to about $83 a month.
And 33 cents.
Yeah. Does that make sense to
you
you and your family to be able to live in that house and enjoy it for that time? And when you view it that way subjectively, the answer is resoundingly yes.
That's why we're talking about maybe reaching in and getting that plan together, and maybe looking again, whatever your savings is, whatever it takes to get that house, your family's going to live there for a long time, and homes are appreciating. We're going to talk about inventory, of course, and appreciation. 248-539-9797. Becky, some great news came out there for a lot of first-time home buyers. The down payment assistance program, MSHDA, Michigan State Housing Development Authority, they're opening up this $10,000 to every zip code.
Yay. Yes, I know we talked last night about it, just making sure we're on the same page. MSHDA did announce that they're no longer limiting the $10,000 to the select 236 zip codes. It's now going to be blanket $10,000 no matter where you're looking. If you're a qualified first-time home buyer or repeat buyer in a targeted area, it's now going to be $10,000 across the board. Because again, like we talked about in the first part of the show, it's not the payment that's the issue, it is the funds for closing. And so they're recognizing, and the point of these programs is they're recognizing that first-time home buyers and people that are using these homes as primary residents are the ones that are getting beat up the worst in this market. And they're also trying to incentivize people to stop renting and get out there and really take the plunge, because one of the biggest things that people are missing out on is they don't even try. They quit before they even start because they think they're not going to get approved, or they think someone's going to tell them no. As humans, we don't want to fail, or we don't want to be denied something, but it's not about if, it's when. And we have all the programs available that are going to help identify what works best for you, because every home buyer experience is different. Just like Harvey's is different, yours is different, every house is different, every financial situation is different. So you have to be treated like a different individual, and every program is different for you. So we have the, MIJDA, we have National Faith, we have Shanoa, we have grant programs that we back up by Capital Mortgage Funding. Any way that we can help get you to the vehicle that's going to get you where you're going to go, we have it. And with MIJDA recognizing that the $10,000 is needed for people to help them afford these homes, that's a beautiful thing. And we are here to help you achieve those home ownership goals, because it's always going to be the American dream to the end of time.
Absolutely.
Just no doubt. Look, this inventory thing, we'll dive a little into the inventory. Listing a home in today's market, we know it's going to sell if it's priced right, but there's still a lot of things you need to do. And sometimes it takes a little bit of money, maybe to extract a little bit more money out of that house. And again, you're listing the house. Let's just use some numbers here, $300,000. That house in today's market, we've seen them get bid up to $325,000. And sometimes that advice that seller got to clean something up, to paint a wall, to redo a floor without spending too much money. How about cleaning up the landscape? I'm out there for a few hours. I love it. I'm an outdoorsy guy. I like getting out there and doing that thing, but that's what's going to get you a few extra bucks for your home.
Absolutely. I think one thing that sellers sometimes will miss, again, not working with a professional, is the buyer is not coming in to buy your particular lifestyle. They want to buy the lifestyle that home represents. And so any time that you can spiff it up and make it look good and feel good without them internalizing your life there, them being able to view themselves there, is key. So doing the maintenance, making sure the mulch is out there, your tulips are budding, and making sure there's fresh paint. If there is anything Justin and I express constantly, is that fresh paint is like putting on lipstick. It is what will make that house smell better, look better, be brighter, and allow the buyer coming in to really envision their family photos on the wall. And
even like the neutral colors, right? Not the fuchsia.
You want those.
Yeah, maybe not the teal.
I mean, we could have the 97.1 red wall, as long as it's an accent wall. But to that point, yes.
In the basement.
For sure. But we even had some of our appraisers come on the air, and they say that sometimes that is the difference of pulling a better number is just the aesthetic look. And
absolutely.
Is it clean? Does it present well? And that might be the difference between getting a higher dollar amount on it, just even appraisal, without even having to really do anything major.
Yeah,
you don't need to do the kitchen.
It's packaging. Think about it. If you're getting something that's packaged and it's dirty and the packaging's all ripped up, you receive that from Amazon, you're like, oh, crap. The inside of this is just going to be a disaster. I'm definitely returning it. Versus the package is perfect. You're opening it up. There's bows. There's glitter. You're like, this is the best thing I could have bought. You don't even think twice. And it's not that you're trying to pull the wool over, but you're showing that you care, that the home has been properly maintained, that it's ready for you to move into.
Yeah, it's like if you're going to sell your car, are you going to expect to get more money for it if you go ahead and get it detailed, waxed, cleaned, and everything? Or if you try and just put it right on the market with your kids' French fries under the seat.
Exactly.
Kind of like
That's not
funky
my car.
smell that you can't find the source of.
You guys have kids.
Speaking from experience, yes.
There's no spilled milk.
All right, so a couple seller tips. Clean the house thoroughly, depersonalize, and declutter. You guys jump in with any of these.
Oh, yeah.
Curb appeal. No doubt about curb appeal, especially on gorgeous days today. How about having a plan together? Your professional real estate agent, they get out there, they're doing the right thing for you. They tell you, hey, let's get a plan for the pets, the kids. These are things that we could do in advance so there's no craziness going on. And we're starting to hear a little more craziness because of lack of inventory. And certain people can't get into even view an open house, you just said, Becky. So there's a lot of things we can do, setting the thermostat at a comfortable level. Secure
Power washing.
belongings. Power washing.
I mean,
I
right
love
now it's everything. Power wash your house, power wash your garage door. It is dirty. We're
Power
in
washing is
spring,
addicting.
and it's beautiful. And then
Rising
film it
glass,
and send
yeah.
it to me. Yeah.
I get those magnifying glasses. I'm like, ooh, look at
Yes.
these lines. I can't. It's bad.
Absolutely. Open the windows up. One of the best tricks right now in spring is bring some live plants in. Do not underestimate the beauty, especially here in Michigan where everything's been dead for so long. It is our best tip for sellers is bring in some fresh plants, allow people to feel life and, breeziness in your home, because Michiganders were like, the sun is out. There's a leaf on my tree. I'm ready.
You're like, it's 50 degrees. I can wear shorts and a
That's
tank
right.
top.
That's right. So
I had
give
that
it to
going
them.
on. Well, we had that going on. We had a couple nice weeks there earlier, and then, boy, the depression set. I just
was
came out of
awful.
my depression because
Right.
no doubt about it. Yesterday, as the weather's starting to turn again,
Felt so
what do we
good.
have, like 2 weeks of rain and clouds, right?
Yes. It's
I'm
like
here.
Seattle.
Yes, I need the sun. And speaking of landscaping and things like that, I want to talk about new construction, right? A lot of things that have kind of come to my direction as far as people buy these new construction homes and they are not allocating the funds that they need for the proper landscaping, that they need for the sod, and in that type of element. And so when people are like, oh, I'm going to build a new house versus buy existing, and making sure that you understand that you need to allocate those funds, because there's pros and cons to both buying existing and buying new, but you need to make sure that that sod, that landscaping, that's going to be your responsibility. You need to make sure you're having the proper funds allocated for that, because it is not cheap. I'm getting landscaping done at my house right now, and it is something to see. I was like, woo.
You're like, that arborvitae costs what?
Yeah,
I know, seriously.
Yes.
That's easy stuff. You talk about landscaping. You got the hardscape, right, Becky? You buy a new construction or any home, and any home you're looking at, you might want to put in a brand new deck. You might want to put in something in the backyard, maybe a horseshoe pit or something fun like that.
My brother wants me to get a tennis court, and I was like, what am I going to do with that? And he's like, it's status.
Status.
I was like, I don't even play tennis. He's like, it's status, Becky. Just look at it.
Stick with the pool, Becky. All right, that music says we're up against a quick break here. Keep it on the station. It's the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. Again, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding, 248-539-9797. We'll be back. Alrighty, welcome back to the show. It's 9:30. Is that the sun shining in Southeast Michigan? Did the Tigers win last night? Hell yeah, they did. Keep it here. We're going to be answering your questions about mortgages and real estate. I'm Harvey Freed. She's Becky Alley. We know a thing or two about mortgages. These
Just a
guys
thing or
know
two.
a lot about selling real estate in today's marketplace. So come and join the show with all your questions. 248-539-9797. Regardless of the financing, it's important to think, why do you want to buy a home? Usually the reasons don't have to do with money. Instead, they have to do with a lot of other things, like your kids and where they're going to grow up. I always tell young families, schools, I always tell young families, you haven't even met your best friends yet, because truly, all the houses I've lived in, these are my lifelong relationships,
Right.
you know, and as you grow older, and these are the families that your kids are going to know forever. They're their best friends. One of my youngest daughter turned 21. She's getting stuff from where she grew up. You know, her girlfriends, oh, love you forever and all that. That's what it's all about, building strong communities.
Yes,
Yes.
community. That's exactly where it's at. And personally, we have moved out of certain neighborhoods that had great schools, but there was lacking community. And so we would move towards a neighborhood that had better community. We have young kids. It matters. So the factors of looking at neighborhood, schools, lifestyle, a lot of times that's something that buyers miss when they're looking at property. They're just looking for the best buy or to get something quickly, and looking into the lifestyle that you want to live. Do you want walkability? Is it just important to you that you're close to the freeway? These types of questions are the things that you want to have answers to when you're working with your pro.
Yeah, one of the things we do at Thrive is when we sit down with buyers in a consultation, we have them fill out what's called a getting to know you form. And one of the questions that is on there is actually around their hobbies, their favorite restaurants, the things that they love to do. And that we always get the question, well, why in the hell would you ever need to know this? I'm buying a house. And it's because it plays into that lifestyle. We need to get an understanding of how they enjoy living there every day so we can help plug in where that exists throughout Metro Detroit.
Like who's really even doing that? Like what you just said, that's the first time I've heard of anyone really in the real estate community really trying to get to know their clients on a personal level, right? And that speaks to the caliber of what you guys are doing for your clients, for the community, taking things to the next level. And even just if you look over the last 3 years, what people are searching for in homes have changed completely. What they were looking for in 2020 and 2021 was, I want space, I want all the acres, I want trees, and I want a bird on my hand because I don't need to go to work. Well, now it's changing.
right.
Now you have to go back to the office. And so now they're trying to get closer to the metropolitan areas, the walkable Detroit or the walkable cities and things like that. And getting in touch with the ever-changing evolvement of real estate. I mean, literally, it's been like watching a telenovela. Like it's like a soap
Yes.
opera. It's been constantly
amazing.
ever changing. Which happy Cinco de Mayo to everyone who celebrated it yesterday. But it is a constant, ever changing thing, and it's like a living, breathing animal of its own. And you need to be with people that have boots in the ground.
Well, I think the thing that I see agents missing the most with buyers and sellers is they're not coming from a place of curiosity, right? We're coming in guns blazing because we know how to sling houses, right? We know how to get someone approved.
Town ain't big enough for the both of us.
Yes, but no one's slowing down and saying, hey, Becky, exactly what it is that you want out of this next move. And why are we making the move? What's causing you to say, hey, this particular situation I'm in right now isn't working anymore, and I want to go from there to here. And us as professionals need to understand the reasoning behind that. So it's beyond the motivation. It's also looking for things they might not be thinking about. Lifestyle, the getting to know you gives us things like their favorite drink. Because during the process, we want to be able to cater to the experience. Going through a transaction with a buyer or seller right now isn't the easiest thing. So we want to make that experience elevated at every point that we can. So if we can give them their favorite pizza or their favorite drink, or make sure that we're catering to the lifestyle they want to be in soon, we're just bringing that dream to a reality as quickly as possible.
Just building that confidence too, which is
Yeah.
really cool. You know, another thing, majority, 63% of the agents, brokers out there are promoting some energy efficient things. They have a lot of education. They speak with authority. Speaking with authority is because you have the confidence. You're sharing this great information so that the families can make these great decisions. And these are lifelong decisions. You want to do the right thing. Again, health benefits of a home, energy saving, durability, operation costs of a house, functionality. These are all things that are so important. And you brought up something before I've never heard. These are more things that we bring as professional real estate agents or lenders. These are things that we bring to buyers and sellers.
The last thing you want is a buyer's remorse or seller's remorse, right? Or you're like immediately, oh my God, I regret this decision. And there's a lot of that happened that over the last couple of years where people, I'm going to win to win. And I'm going to just come in here and I'm going to win. And now they're selling those houses because they're like, this doesn't fit my lifestyle. No one took the time to get to know them, to figure out their wants and needs. What is the want? What is the need? And how many of those boxes can we check? And there's not very many real estate agents out there that are trained to actually identify those things. It's an art to be able to extract that, what the wants and needs are in just a normal conversation. And that sometimes is the difference between that lifelong client. And that's why you guys are referral based brokerage. And that's why you guys are dialed into the culture that you have into that magnitude. And while we're on the topic, I want to bring up, so you guys are at this point where, you're literally changing people's lives on massive scales. Massive scales. People are looking to you that are not even at your brokerage, and people are coming to me asking, hey, Becky, what's up at Thrive? I'm like, what isn't up at Thrive? Okay, let's talk about that. It's a vibe. It is all the things. Thrive is a vibe, and that energy is coming out.
T-shirts.
Yes, for sure. And I'm saying this from a point of, I see you guys up close. And what you see online is also what you see in person. You guys are fun. You're funny. You're partners, your husband, wife, your moms, dads, you understand what it takes to be the professionals out there, but then also be the person. You don't lose that empathetic place of understanding of what these people are really going through to struggle. And part of that is coming from a place of struggle at one point in time in yourselves.
Absolutely.
And identifying that in our buyers and sellers and understanding their wants and needs. And so my question is to the agents right now that are struggling, because I talked about this 2 years ago. We're going to reach this point where 30% you're out.
Hard. Yeah.
60% are struggling and 10% are going to literally dominate and take over the market share. And you guys are part of that 10%. So what are you saying to the agents right now that might be struggling where they're at right now?
Oh, I tell them, because it happens every day. It doesn't matter if you're veteran. It doesn't matter if you're brand new. The basics that it takes to be successful in our industry should never go away. We sat really pretty the last 3 years, and unfortunately, people forgot to continue the basics. Lead generation, continuing to foster relationships, whether that's with friends and family. Continue to educate yourself. I mean, in the last 3 years, I don't think realtors had panels to go to, special Tony Robbins events. I mean, now you see all the bells and whistles coming out.
Yeah.
So I think make sure that you're in an environment right now that cultivates education, modern technology, and understanding where the market is headed, and holds your feet to the fire. I mean, a lot of people come to real estate or even the lending side thinking, oh, there's uncapped income potential and, I have so much flexibility.
So much freedom, right.
Yeah, but really the professionals understand like this is a career and you treat it professionally and your clients expect you to show up professionally. And so put the work in. Lead generation would be my number one thought for anybody right now is who are you talking to and who should you be talking to right now?
Yeah, and who you surround yourself with matters, right? We believe that wholeheartedly at Thrive. That's why we focus so much on the personal development side of the business, which I say the personal development side of the business, I don't think it really exists anywhere else but behind our walls. And it's because mindset is the number one factor that's going to determine success or not in this market. As we move through 2023, when it comes to real estate, and I'm sure it's the same in mortgages, that market belongs to the skilled agent or the skilled lender. It's not the person that was able to enter the industry in the last 2 years because the market carried them, because it's just simply busy. It's the one that actually does the work, like Jessica was just talking about, that wakes up every day, puts their professional hat on, goes to work, does the work, and is consistent about it.
The truth is that leaders see reality, and whether that's good or bad, and you're able to navigate and push people through that, right? You can see things for them that they can't see for themselves. And a leader isn't the one that is delegating. The leader is the one that is literally fighting the fight with you, shoulder to shoulder, making sure that you are all of the things. And that's what Thrive really does. And I'm just saying that because, again, I get to see these people up front, personal, and I see what they're really giving back to the community. And, to anyone that is struggling out there, we knew this was going to happen. If you got into the business, right? So this is on the, the professional side of things. If you got into the business thinking it was easy, congratulations, you made it this far. But that's not the truth. This is a skilled-based market. Yep. It is back to basics, and you need to be around people that have the ethics and the character, because what you practice in private will always show up in public.
Absolutely.
Be careful about these clicking of the buttons too. There's no doubt you're going to get some strangers calling you, and I think you don't even know the questions to ask, and that's really where real estate is a little different out there. You click a button, you get a call from a couple different agents. So now you need to know what qualifying questions you're going to ask them. Where's their expertise going to lie? And really, that's going to be how you're going to make your decision up. Well, I keep getting calls, and again, people like to reach out and tell me all the crazy stories. The most recent one this week, they had an offer in at $675. The buyer would have paid, my guy's buyer would have paid $750 for the house. Instead, bad communication on the listing agent's part. I don't want to bring up too many bad things here, but bad communication typically makes for a seller or a buyer not really taking advantage of what they could have or best results. And I think it's so important, again, to keep that communication up. If you're a successful real estate agent, don't start getting don't stick your chest out too much here. We're all in this together. And more importantly, the eye on the prize is to make sure that the seller gets their needs met and the buyer gets their needs met.
It's all about success and getting everyone to the table. And I had a conversation yesterday. We had one where a value came in a little bit light. right? It happens. You have to be prepared to make sure that if something worst case is going to happen, it happens, right? And this is that time of year where if a value is going to come in lower, this is that time because you're dealing with January sales and it was a different market and they haven't caught up to what the market's doing right now. So we had one where it came in, I don't know, it was like $10,000 off. And I can tell as soon as I got the agent on the phone, the buyer's agent, this is probably her only transaction. She does not have the mental wherewithal to understand that there's a process when we're now going back to the appraiser and asking them to reconsider what that value is. Just because you want to pay $360,000 for that house doesn't mean it's truly worth $360,000 for that house. Just like Justin was saying, you know, if the buyer is the one that determines the price, but the appraiser is the one that determines the value, and those are two different things. So when I'm talking to this agent about these are the next steps, please send me additional data that I can, you know, take this back to the appraiser and we can ask them to reconsider the value. What they set me back was under what the value even came in at. And that's why I said, Haley, look, I can't send this back. And this is what the process is. And she just was not understanding and she was getting upset about it. And I was like, there's a process. So I actually helped her dig up comps. I got on the phone with the listing agent. We found better comparables and now we're doing the rebuttal process. But again, an appraiser
you work with matters.
Yes, it does matter. And and her stress was now coming across onto the buyer.
Of course.
So now we have to, now I have to talk the buyer off the edge because we don't want her as the lender. We do not want our buyers to overpay for the house. Our duty is to make sure that they're getting into a house that is affordable and at the market value.
All right, when we come back, all of your calls, 248-539-9797. Keep it here. Welcome back to the show. It's the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, again, powered by Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, sponsored by Capital Mortgage Funding. 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. That's where you're going to find a lot of experience. We'll counsel you. We'll go over things in full detail. We offer every type of mortgage out there, whether you need a FHA, VA, USDA loan, you name it, we got it. Becky, let's do a little bit of mortgage talk here. Everyone's got equity in their homes now, and there's some projects to do, or people might be buried in debt. And the economy's been really rough. I don't care who you're talking to. Things are expensive. I talk to a lot of my wealthy friends and like, man, things are expensive. Go out on a town tonight. It's $100 a person for dinner. You know, if you're not eating fast food anyways. But no doubt, things are expensive now. And there might be a reason, Becky, where cash out refinance makes a lot of sense for you.
Cash out refinances are still happening, despite the contrary to popular belief that rates are through the moon. People are reaching out to me daily doing cash out refinances. And one that's really popular is they are buying the homes for cash and then turning on refinancing the next day to extract the cash that they just pulled out so they could win an accepted offer or get an offer won. So there's a million different reasons why someone's going to pull equity out of their home because we are in an appreciating market. There is equity in the home. And like you pointed out, the inventory, despite what your 401k might be looking gross right now, I try not to look at mine. Housing and the equity in your home is always going to be the biggest appreciating asset, regardless of the time that you're buying a house.
All right, so the Fed funds rate went up again, 0.25% or whatever. Fed funds rate is actually the overnight lending between banks. But if you guys are confused enough to think that affects your mortgage rate, well, it sort of does, but more specifically, home equity loans. So, Becky, no doubt, a cash out refinance, you get a fixed rate, whether it be a 30, a 15. You know, you can consolidate your debt, and you might owe 26 years on the mortgage. Maybe you bought it 4 years ago and you're sitting on a bundle of equity. Okay, drop it to a 20-year fixed. Not only did you could save so much money. Yeah, that higher interest might bite you a little bit. Knocking 8 years off your mortgage is huge. How about a 15-year fix, Becky?
I can't. Okay, so people will not even bat an eyelash at paying 23% on their credit cards or whatever they're paying on their car loans, but they're going to be like, oh my God, 6%, clinch my pearls. Like, stop all that noise because the house is always going to be the biggest asset that you can have at your disposal, and you can use it not as a piggy bank, but as needed. There's a lot of people that got in some financial trouble over the last couple of years when they were considered non-essential, employees. They couldn't maybe work, or even that people just don't know how to manage their overall debt. And you can do a cash out refinance, and it is situational. Sometimes it does make sense. The Fed funds rate directly affects the short-term interest rates or loans, meaning HELOCs, your car loans, your credit cards, student loans even. That is more directly affected by what the Fed is doing. Mortgage interest rates tend to follow inflation, and my prediction is that we are going to see the rates coming down in the next 6 to 8 months once the inflation data comes in, because you have to understand all this data is a year behind. So they're looking at last year's data, predicting what this year's rate's going to be. So when May, June, July reports come out, we're going to start seeing some improvement with these rates.
Also, there's an election year coming up. I'll take a couple months over that. So I'm going to go in the next 12 months, there's going to be an opportunity out there. Without getting into any slogans and stuff, look, you buy the house because you love it, and home ownership is a lot of fun, a lot of excitement. We talked about it earlier, Jess. We're building communities. This is all the fun stuff. Let's go into a little bit of the fun stuff because I've been having some good times at the closings lately. You know, we show up, we're bringing you a nice gift. We're excited for you. Sometimes families can't move in right away. So let's just talk about the fun stuff as summer rolls around and it truly is home buying season.
Yes, I think, one on closings. I love that you're having fun at closings because they should be fun. So if you're hearing from friends and family that it's not fun, they're not working with the right people. We pride ourselves at Thrive at turning that closing table around and making sure that it's a celebration of some sort. So what is fun during the summer? I mean, a lot of people right now are looking for pools. They're looking forward to barbecue season, lakefront. Yeah, I mean, in Michigan, that's what we do here. So I think when you're looking, I always, for an open house, I think it should be a lifestyle open house any way you slice it. So if you're going to an open house that's on the lake today, you should be seeing people cultivating that lake life, having that experience. So as agents, as buyers going, thinking about those things is really exciting.
Yeah, we had a house we sold. This was a little while back. It was in Oxford and it was on a lake. And it was a family home, 4 daughters raised at the house. And now all the daughters were in college. They were moved on with life. And it was just mom there at the house. It was relatively large. And it had a saltwater pool, and it was on a lake, and it was the house where all the kids in the school came to hang out. And she shared story upon story of pool party after pool party and events. They literally had a hot dog machine. They had a
Yes.
Popcorn machine,
like
slushy.
slushies and stuff. And she sat there and spent the majority of the time in the listing appointment talking to Jessica and I about these lifestyle events. And so what we decided to do is when we did an open house on that, we threw a pool party.
Yep.
We went ahead
had
and
people in the
actually, we
pool.
literally people in the pool. We went.
He's like, you there on the street.
Music's
Get
playing.
in
I
the
was walking around in a bikini. It was awesome.
And here's
No, I'm kidding.
here's the kicker to that is that we were the second agent. She had listed with an agent for a year at a price point and did not get it. We came in and within the first week at the same price point sold the house to somebody at that pool party.
Okay. I love that because I pride myself sometimes on being that second phone call because when I'm that second phone call, I'm the freaking last.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
that says something to you and to anyone that can be like that. When people know there's a problem, they can come to you to get it solved because some of the stuff is hard, but it doesn't have to be complicated. You just have to work a little bit harder to get to where you're going. And to that point, I want to talk about, because obviously you guys are really big advocates on setting people up for success, buyers, sellers. So what are your top tips on what buyers should and should not be doing right now in this market?
Let's see. Well, when it comes to buying their house, they need to get really clear right in the beginning on what they're looking for and what they're willing to do to get it. And when I say what they're willing to do to get it, I mean financially. Get really clear on what your actual buying power is, because anytime they put in an offer, they should be walking away from that offer in this market anyway, saying, I've put in such a strong offer that I know
Yes.
that if I don't get it, I can hold my head high because I know it was either not capable for me or went a place that didn't make financial sense. They have to feel good about it. That's not the time to face regret and wish that you put in an additional $5,000. It's too late at that point. So getting clear up front is absolutely vital.
Had that problem. Actually, a guy sort of walked away from an accepted offer. He didn't even want to do his inspection because he finally saw the taxes. I'm like, what? You didn't see him when you signed your name, but now, and he's not feeling so good. I called him last week and I said, boy, you sound depressed. You loved me last week, but the taxes were a little bit too high. So I like that information because budgeting is so important. I'm going to throw this out there for budgeting. For example, if you're renting at $1,000 now, that's considered pretty cheap. Landlords are going through the roof. Becky, most rents you see $1,600, $1,700. My buddy John's got a great rental, $1,850 in Berkeley. You can walk to Woodward. It's awesome. But also you've got the association fees, gas, electric, water bills. There are things that you need to pay for. You need to understand that you need these professionals in your corner to lay it all out for you because, as we mentioned earlier, you can't kick tires in this type of business.
And you also can't get a pre-approval in 5 minutes. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes before we send someone out in the streets, because the worst thing that we can do is have people running around with these pieces of paper in their hand, and then all of a sudden they find they have a house that they can't afford because no one
Exactly.
talked about the budget, no one talked about the things behind the scenes, as well as what the taxes could be in a year from now. You have to set everyone up for success, and that's why you cannot start the conversation soon enough, because there's a lot that goes into it, and you need to practice budgeting. People miss that all day long. I'm paying $1,200 in rent. Well, now your mortgage payment might be $1,300. Well, people are tripping out over that $100. They don't know where that money's going to be coming from. You need to practice what you preach. You have to make sure you're setting yourself up for success. And, one of my tips would be, you don't need you don't need 20% down. But the other thing is that the biggest thing is they don't even try. Home buyers, they just don't even try to get pre-approved. They just want to be lifetime renters. And why are you going to continue to pay someone else's rent when you are fully capable of investing in yourself? Start the conversation immediately, because you're going to be really surprised that you actually can afford that home. Because if you're paying $1,800 in rent, you're going to get a $300,000 or $300,000 house with that price point.
Let me do a little mortgage banking talk. That's always
250
good
maybe.
points. Definitely mortgage banking talk here. Debt to income ratio. Yes, a lot of us over the last couple of years, not me, but the last couple of years, you might have got a bonus. You might have had a pandemic situation where you're off of work. Now you've got that income coming back in. So bonus income, your overtime income, this all comes into play to your debt to income ratio. And just like you threw it out there, Becky, yeah, don't call me up on Sunday morning and you want that pre-approval letter.
All day.
Yeah.
Let me just get on my laptop.
Yeah, but I'm not going to send you a piece of paper. Yeah, we have to go over some things in full detail here. And really the families that don't, Jess, there's no doubt it's a surprise party, or they really haven't taken the proper steps to be prepared to go out there with your agent and start making some solid offers.
Exactly. And I think for people working with agents that aren't consulting and saying, hey, I've got a great lender that I'm going to have you work with, and it's Sunday, we got to get some paperwork in order, we have some prereqs to do, taking it more seriously is going to help you get the result you're looking for. It's going to help you get the house that you actually want. And to your point on renters not understanding about home ownership, I can't express enough how much renters should really look at the freedom that brings. Yes, you're going to be not paying someone else's mortgage and building your portfolio or your wealth or having an asset, but it's freedom. It's that mental freedom of saying, like, you want to landscape the way you want to landscape, you want all dirt out front, that's on you. You can do that now.
Yeah.
You don't have to think about those things that are daily thoughts as a renter. Well, I'm not going to do that because it's not mine. I'm not going to do the grass because that's not mine. I'm not going to plant the flowers because that's not mine.
And you're not going to listen. Well, I'm done listening to the person river dancing that lives above me as well. So that's going to be a key point of why I'm no longer going to be renting. Divorce renting. Now, renting does make sense for people sometimes, but let's talk about how you can divorce rent for good.
All right, no doubt. That music says that's it. That's the show. All right, well, get in your car. We're going to wrap it up here. Want to thank Jessica and Justin Woodbeck, Thrive Realty. You guys just punch in Thrive Realty. These guys are awesome. This is where real estate's going, the cutting edge of real estate. Be sure to check them out. Becky, got any things? Goodbyes here.
Hey, I got happy birthday to my brother and sister and my mother-in-law. It's going to be a busy, fun weekend for the family, but I'll still be available for all your pre-approvals and all that jazz.
All right, we got Pat Caputo coming up with sports. Keep it here on 97.1 The Tickets. We'll see you next Saturday.